Hello everyone. Today I'm going to start a new topic that is F5 load balancer. I have covered CCNA, Palo Alto, FortiGate firewalls, Checkpoint, and I know you are like very good learner. And this is one of the very important topic for the job perspective, and people are looking for the professionals who are having skills in the load balancers. So this is I'm going to focus on the F5. So this is a very introduction section. This is the first video. So I will be just introducing you from the scratch, considering you that you don't know anything about the load balancers. So this is very familiar symbol you see. That is basically from the F5, right? You see the page here. This is F5 symbol, and that's where I have taken that screenshot. Basically, that's a web page directly, not really that screenshot. So let's learn what where do we need that load balancer and what basically it is and how does that work. So if you know the normal scenario that how basically we access the internet. So for example, you are an internet user. Consider this is your internet and you are sitting with your laptop here. And somewhere here, that is Google, that is providing you a service on any of the service. Either it is could be a Google Drive, it could be the DNS service, it could be the Google Meet or any services, or in fact, not only Google, any well-known vendor, Facebook, or not in fact the popular ones, even smaller organizations are using that load balancer. So for example, they are having and they are serving a single request of the Google Drive, right? So what do? You access the URL drive.google.com. So somewhere if you do NS lookup, behind that there will be a certain IP. For example, I take an IP address 140 dot, or for the simplicity, let's take as 20.20.20, right? I may consider that that does not belong to the Google, but still, for example, let's take this is the IP address they are using, right? So everybody, this user here on this machine would be this user, like I'm sitting here, I am, right? Internet user. And when I want to access the drive.google.com, what I will do, I will hit this drive.google.com. What is going to happen? It will do NS lookup and certainly we will get the correct IP address, whatever it was having 20.20.20. I'm considering as an example, right? So now my request will be going to this 20.20.20 somewhere here. So now the problem is, does that Google is having only one server with that IP address 20.20.20, or they are having the multiple servers and those are serving the request? I'm pretty sure you are confident enough that Google is not having a single server. They are having the multiple server serving that request, right? So that's where the load balancer comes in the picture, that we have a certain IP that we call it as a virtual IP. That's not the actual server. And behind that virtual IP, for example, here you deploy a F5. Okay, I'm saying as an LTM. If you don't know the LTM, just don't worry. F5 LTM, you can say the load balancer they have deployed, and that 20.20 will be hitting the request here. And behind that load balancer, there could be n number of servers that serving that request. Server 1, server 2, server 3, server 4, server 5. It could be any numbers, right? It just depends on your requirement or basically your infrastructure, that how large your enterprise is. Accordingly, you can give the number of servers. Now, what is happening that whenever any new request comes, you, because there could be like n number of users here, right? Not only I am there, there are multiple servers. What is happening now, that the request is going to this LTM. The first request is served by this server. Second request could be landing on the second server. Third request could be landing on third server. Fourth server, fifth server. The request, the number of users, they are coming here. For example, for certain period of time, this server 1 goes down. because of maintenance or by chance, whatever happened, high uses, whatever it was, and it went down. Now what will be happening? There is no outage at all. Request will still be served by the other servers. So that's basically the benefit of the load balancer. Another advantage is that you are not at all sharing your private IP addresses to the public. Your actual servers could be having a private IP address of something like 172.16.1, 1.2, 1.3. But the users here sitting on the internet, they don't know that what is the actual server IP behind that. You don't do SSH or something, you can't do that one. Correct. So that's basically the magic of the load balancer. So we need to the two purposes, like we don't want to share our public IP address. Next thing is the redundancy. Okay. So still, like one of the server goes down, we can work on the request. So this was like overall introduction, not too deep, but just an overview because I don't want to stretch everything in the first session and you get overwhelmed and you don't understand right things. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the configuration basically that how the configuration on the F5 looks like. I'm not going to configure anything today, but I will show you all the configuration, but how basically these things can be done. So labs I have set up on the EVNG. If you want to know that how to set it the lab on EVNG, I have another sessions on recorded sessions. I will give you the link that how to set up an EVNG lab and all. You can set the lab according to your requirement. Okay. So what I have done in this lab, I have taken just an example that this part, the left hand section that I have considered as an internet. Okay. So that could be any internet user here. So that could be n number of users, but for the lab perspective, I have taken just single user who is from the internet and will try to access. Okay. So from this perspective here that you can consider your enterprise. It could be your organization and you are hosting a server here. Okay. So what is happening that whatever request coming from the internet is landing on this F5. And behind that F5, we are having the internal servers. So I have taken the 3 servers to serve my request. Okay. And they will be replying back one by one. In your, for the security perspective, what we do, we put these internal servers in the different zone of the firewalls. And this is like internet facing. So we put on the DMZ. So if you don't understand security much, just consider that this is how it is being set up. In the real environment, we put our web facing or internet facing big IP on the DMZ zone and the servers which are more protected. And I don't want that any internet user to access these. I put in the internal zone so that the direct internet users, they cannot access it directly. Okay. So if I show you the real thing, so that how basically it is going to be. Okay. So I have this user. If I open this machine here, so this is my one of the Windows 7 computer. Okay. And from this machine, I will be hitting a virtual IP of the big IP. So this big IP is having a virtual IP of 20.20.20. I'm telling you because I have configured it, but in case of like practical sessions, that's how it is going to be. That you will get a link something like google.com that will be going to the DNS and that DNS will be giving you the IP address 20.20.20. Okay, but I don't have a DNS setup and all, so I'll be directly hitting this IP address 20.20.20. Okay, so I went to this machine, user internet, and on the browser, I hit 20.20.20. Whatever the servers I have configured, they are configured for the port 80. Okay, so that's why I am setting it here as a port 80. If you see it here, you will see that there are the going for the HTTP, not for the HTTPS. If I request and this refresh this page, you see that this is saying that this is server 1. Why I have labeled this one? So that you can come to know that where basically your request is going. Otherwise, you will not be able to identify. But in real scenarios, they not at all different. Every server will serve the same request. They will give the same output so that end user doesn't know that where basically the request is going. You will only see the output and you will not come to know that which server is serving request. It is the responsibility of the server that they will track it, that from where, that what is the source IP that is coming from. Okay. So if I refresh this page, this is like going to server 1, 2, and 3. 1, 3, and 2. So this is round robin. The first, like if I refresh the first time, it is going on the server 1. Next, I refresh it, it goes to the server 3. If I refresh once again, it goes to server 2. So this is like 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2. That's how it is going to be. Every request will be going to the different server because they are configured in the round robin fashion. Now let me show you the configuration on the F5, that basically how this is happening and all. Okay. So if I log in my F5, let me zoom it a little bit. So that's how basically like your home page look like in the GUI. And this is the actual page after logging in. Okay, so you can see like name, date and all, time. What do we have to do? We have to very first we have to check on the local traffic. If you are a beginner, just learn, just you have to focus on the local traffic. You go to the local traffic. Over there is an option of the virtual servers. Okay. So first you have to go to onto virtual servers. So if I go click on this virtual server, you can see that I have configured one virtual server. That is called basically the web virtual IP. So either you call it as a virtual server or virtual IP. And I have given an IP address 20.20.20. That's basically my virtual IP. That these users, whatever is here, they will be hitting to this 20.20, and that is on this big IP. And service port I have configured, that is I have configured only the 80 HTTP. Now, next thing that I have to check that what are the resources behind that. Basically that what are the servers, right? So I click on this because this is already highlighted. I can click here on the blue, right? Now you see that what are the configuration is there. You can configure. I will be telling you this configuration, that how to do this thing in the upcoming videos. That's going to be a long session, right? So here you have to go to the resources in order to check that what are the servers behind that. So if I click on the resources, you see that there's a name as a default pool. Okay. So in this virtual server, I am using this pool, HTTP pool. So basically the servers are behind this pool, HTTP pool. Now I have to go and check this HTTP pool, that what are the servers behind this pool. So for that, you have to go to this pools option. You see that there's an option pool under the local traffic. There's a pools. I go to the pools and I will search for this HTTP pool. This is lab session, so I will be having only one pool. But in the real environment, in the production environment, there could be like n number of multiple pools created. So you have to look your own pool for what your virtual servers you are looking for. Okay. So now, right now, I will go for the HTTP pool. So in the pool list, I have this HTTP pool. So you can see in this HTTP pool, I have three members. Three members mean three servers are behind this pool. If I click it here, I can see some basic things, monitor and all. I can see the members here. You see that there's tab for the members. If I go on to the members, there are three nodes behind that. Nodes means the server, that which are actual servers behind that pool or behind the virtual server. So I have three servers, 172.16.1.1, 172.16.1.2, 172.16.1.3. All these three are serving this request. Whenever you see this green light, it means that all three servers are enabled and they are serving my request. Okay, so these are the IP addresses of the server. You can see it here: 172.16.1.1, 172.16.1.2, 172.16.1.3. Cool, awesome. So now if I go to this one, right? So my servers requests are going to all these servers: server 1, server 2, and server 3. For example, one of my server goes down, or I don't want that the users come to my server 3. I need that for the maintenance purpose. What you can do that select this pool and you put it as a disable. Now I don't want that users coming on the server 3. I need for this maintenance. I mark this as a disable. Now if I go here and search, refresh it, my request will only be served by 1 and 2. I just keep on refreshing. You see that the requests are not going to 1 and sorry, they are only going on the 1 and 2, not going to the 3. Correct? That's how basically it is. So I can put it enable once again. All three are green. And now if I refresh it here, again, they start going to the server 3. For example, because of any issues, any of the server goes down. For example, my server 2 went down, right? So whenever any server went down, you can see that in the notes. If I click in members, refresh it, it will show down very soon. Because right now it's not showing, but it will just take a little bit time and it will show you down. So I can go to the pools once again, pool list, HTTP pool, members, and here we go. You see that node 2 starts showing as a down. It means that my F5 has declared this node as down, and now also your request will not be going to the node 2. So wherever there's a green symbol, only those will be serving request according to the F5. So F5 is smart enough, whenever it detects that, okay, this is down, it will not send the request to this server. So if I refresh now here, you see that it will be only served by 1 and 3. It will not be going to the 2. 1, 3, 1, 3. I keep on refreshing, it will not be going to 2. So that's basically the magic of the load balancer. I hope you understand basically that how does it work. Obviously, the configuration part, that's like a long product. So I'll be explaining in upcoming videos one by one. And you can see all these videos available on my homepage. So my website is this freshdeveloper.online. Okay, so you can go here on the self-learning, and here there's a page for F5 LTM. You can click it here, and that will basically open a page for the F5. All right. So I will be uploading all the videos, like list of these recorded sessions on that page, and there you can watch all these videos one by one. You can also follow me on the LinkedIn, so as well as on the Instagram as per the requirement. And for the setting up this lab, you can go to the description. I will give you the link. Basically, you have to go to this page net.freshdeveloper.online. Okay. So that's the link I will be giving you in the description. Okay. So here you will get all these images and all. But if you are logging in the first time, you have to create an account there. Okay. And once you create an account and you log in with the certain, you will see a section as a free resources. If I go it here, okay, I cannot show you, I have to log in. So over there you will see the option as the free resources. Over there you will get all the links. Okay. And also like how to set up an EVNG lab, I will be giving the description for the YouTube link. So all these things I will be giving the description. Just follow there and you will be getting all the details. Alright guys, so stay tuned with me for the upcoming videos. See you there. Till that, bye bye.